And I think we're live. Hold on.
Oh, we're live, baby. It says live on Facebook. Meeting now streaming.
All right, we are live officially. Hi, Betty. Great to see you again. It's been so long.
Back in the virtual world.
Hello, Tea Talks family. Welcome to the Tuesday Tea Talks Mid-Morning Show. I am Candy.
And I'm Leslie, and we are so excited to be here. You can probably hear my voice is not to its normal total quality that it is. We, Candy and I, and many women, some of that are now on this video already, just spent the last weekend in Sedona for the 3rd annual Warrior Wellness Retreat. And I'll have Candy say whatever she wants to say about that, but definitely a lot of releasing occurred, even for myself. And where it's shown up for me the most is in my throat. So we're gonna get through this episode.
Yes, we are making it through. I'm pulling up these comments so I can see everybody. Hello, Monique. Hello, Jessie. We see you. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Our Tea Talks tribe is here, so we are ready to rock. And yeah, we just had the 3rd annual Warrior Women Wellness Retreat. I don't know. I'm still coming back down to the planet, you guys. I just had to eat some food before Tea Talks. I normally eat after Tea Talks, but yeah, it's been just incredible to witness, seeing something go from the non-physical to the physical. Something that started off as a dream, as a desire, which goes kind of perfectly hand in hand with what we're going to talk about today. And just seeing how much just being specific and actually visualizing it and having a very clear idea of what I wanted this retreat to be, see how that played a role in actually then taking the action steps and bringing it to life. So it's so amazing. I'm just super excited. We'll talk more about that later, but to this month, all month long, we are talking about, hang on, let me pull it up. Okay, here we go. I'm like, I don't want to mess it up this time. New decade demands major upgrades. And I know all of you last week said you were feeling it. Betty says she feels like she's floating from the retreat. Totally. This decade is demanding major upgrades from each and every one of us. And for those of you that were on retreat, you got to experience what those upgrades actually felt like and how this year is going to go. And so we're going to be talking all month long on how to actually fulfill on your New Year's goals without losing momentum. So last week we talked a lot about accountability and how you don't have to do it alone, and how you can actually invest in and hire support from either me or Leslie. Leslie mentioned her meditation mentorship, which she'll share about today. And then I shared about the 9-month container conscious biz rebirth that's happening for those of you who are launching and growing a business. And is there anything you want to speak to on that, Leslie, before we jump in?
On the accountability?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would even maybe share a conversation that you had of how profound the accountability, and maybe even like 1 or 2 takeaways that have been shared with us from even last week's episode. We can start there, and it will naturally carry us into what we have for you today.
Perfect. Amazing. Yeah, definitely. We got so many messages from you guys last week around how much this even the show has been such an incredible resource for you all to actually hold yourself accountable and just look into your life and see where you can apply these teachings that Leslie and I are sharing with you. I went to Sabina's celebration last night, her birthday celebration, her solar return, and Monique, you were actually there, and I heard from Monique in person, and this is so beautiful to just see. I heard from her in person that this show has been such a valuable resource, but specifically last week, one of the things she had realized was that You know, she had been waiting and waiting and waiting for the perfect moment where she had all her instruments and all of everything she needed to feel like she could finally offer her service. And what she realized was that she can actually start right now with what she has. And she was waiting on the gong, but she had a drum, I think she said a flute. Yes, she says, I see her commenting below. Yes. And so she had so many tools and instruments she could already start using. And so she discovered in that conversation that we had last week that this is something she can start implementing now. And then later on, she can kind of reward her efforts with the gong once she starts building up her practice. And that's so amazing to see, because sometimes we can feel like we have to start with when we have it all together, like when we truly feel like, okay, I need this, like we have this goal and we have
Like
this
the whole
dream.
symphony is there, then we can play our song.
Right.
Like, wait, I have this instrument and that instrument, figuratively and literally, and figuratively and unfiguratively, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can play a song right now.
Right. Right, exactly. And I can write a song right now with exactly what I have, right? And so it's perfect. It's beautiful. And then you get to add all those other things in later. So, you know, the biggest takeaway in that, she says, absolutely, I was getting in my own way, and our conversation truly helps me see that I am enough now, like right now, not later, not tomorrow, next week, that you are enough now. Beautiful, Monique. Beautiful realization. Thank you for sharing that with me last night. And yeah, the biggest thing too is just like how much of a difference having somebody that is going to be holding you accountable and having somebody to just hold that space for you to share about these things plays in actually bringing the non-physical to the physical, actually bringing your dreams and realizations to life.
Yeah, and the last bit I'll add for there, because this really hit me even on the retreat in Christina Sloan's workshop,
Mm-hmm.
really looking at the free support, the
Mm-hmm.
free support that we have or can cultivate,
Like
and
the
then
show.
the paid support. And I just want to talk about that just briefly, because that's not the main focus of this conversation today, but I do know sometimes we hear support, even myself, it was like, gotta pay someone, right? And then I realized, wait a minute, there are so many free resources now. The kicker
Mm-hmm.
is knowing when you need the paid resources, right? Like there is absolutely, if you keep running into the same roadblock, we just got to be honest with ourselves, hire the support, live into the support that you need. But then also, like, I'm so present to this community, even Tea Talks. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many women that are on week after week, and you guys are all, some of you know each other, or even getting to know each other just because you always see each other commenting. These are your tribe. And you don't have to, I love Christina said that, you don't have to pay your friends. Like these are your tribe. Let's say you have an idea and you think it's crazy, reach out to Betty or, you know, whoever's on, and just say, hey, I had this idea, I know you're always on Tea Talks, like I just want to bounce it off of someone. That doesn't cost anything, but what it takes is your vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that can seem way too big of a cost. So, but really look in your life. I wanted to presence that. Really look in your life where there are free resources like Tea Talks, or you're a tribe that you can cultivate to really continue to build the momentum on the days that you're not really feeling like it. You know, there's going to be someone that's a stand for you. And then also knowing when paid support is the next step.
Yeah, definitely. And what I realized is that I had to lean into that free support before I was able to even consider paid support for myself. Like if I wasn't comfortable with sharing an idea with Leslie, what made me feel like I could invest in a business coach? Like I honestly, I had to be willing to just put myself out there and receive just even the love and support from my friends. And then like I had to get comfortable sharing my vision and just be okay with sharing this idea with people. And then I could say, okay, now I know I need a coach. Like I see what's blocking me, I see what's stopping me, and I know where a coach can come in. Gabby, we see you jumping on, thanks for joining. Josette, we see you. Oh my gosh, so many new additions to the Tea Talk fam. Thank you guys
More free support. There you go.
Yes, amazing. So today we'll transition. You want to drop a little transition music?
Ooh, I don't have much of a voice, so ooh.
Okay.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Candy, all you. It's you. It's you.
All right, that's our transition music. So we'll talk today. We're going to talk about getting specific on what you desire, like what you truly desire. You know, I've talked to some of you who, yes, want more money. Yes, want to live on purpose. Yes, you want to create your life, but yet, what is that? What, you know, you want success, but are not sure what that actually means. And so we are going to talk about how you can get Jesse loves your transition music. We're going to talk about
Good. I knew
how
that was going to come in about that.
we're going to talk about how to get specific. So Leslie and I were chatting before the show and we were okay, what do they need? What do they absolutely need to be the most successful they can be this year with exactly where they're at right now, what they have. And one thing that Leslie and I have put in practice and like are able to have created our dream lives and what we have right now is by getting really specific on what that actually is for us, because we all want success, right? But yet we have never really checked in on what that means for us. We know that success in society means you're financially free, you've got the house, you've got the car, you got the wife, or well, you guys, well, yeah, wife, kids, family, whatever. You've got the job, you've got the 401k, you've got, you know, all those things. And yet people like in Christina's workshop, you know, she achieved that and then she realized, wow, this actually means nothing. You know, this actually means nothing to me. And then this is actually not what happiness is. So what is happiness? What is success for you? And we'll talk about that. I'll let Leslie share just here in a moment. But what I want to start us off with, write this down in your journals for those of you that have your journals out now. A quote by Wallace D. Wattles, my voice too. Like,
I know it will like crack, and I'm like, whoa, is this what it feels like for boys that go through puberty? Like, I really feel for them, you know?
yeah, for sure. So with that being said, write this down if you have it. If not, you know, you can take a little note or come back, you know, on the replay. If for those of you that are watching, drop a comment below on replay, hashtag replay. This quote by Wallace D. Wattles, and I don't know if I'm gonna like head on nail it, so Google it if you need the actual quote, but he says in the book The Science of Getting Rich, he says, I believe he says, a man cannot transmute an idea unless he has it himself, meaning like, or an image or an idea, something like that. So basically you cannot bring something from the non-physical form, like your dream, to the physical form unless you have a clear mental picture, a clear and definite mental picture, he says, on what that actually is. And so throughout this whole month long, Wallace D. Wattles, Betty, close though, close. You got it. Science of Getting Rich. You got it. She dropped a comment in the comment box below. So basically, you have to be very specific, and like Leslie and I can share our experiences with kind of, you know, we were creating our lives for sure, but we didn't necessarily like know how to really like, you know, create it to where we desired, you know, like to create what we have created now. We were following someone else's idea of success. So Leslie, do you want to share kind of like what that was like for you?
Yeah. And you know, this question of what does success really mean to me? What does it really look like in my day to day to me? That question has been, there's a few questions that have completely changed my life, and that's one of them. And that's why we were like, we have to share this. This is coming at the perfect time with the new year and the new decade and all the upgrades that are being demanded of each of us, and what Candy and I were sharing at each level. Like, I know people who are just starting their journey, who haven't even started their journey, to like millionaires that I surround myself with. And everybody right now is experiencing the demanded upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Different levels, but still demanded upgrades. I'm feeling it. And so we were like, all right, where does this really start for us? And I know we've talked in various episodes about being really hard on ourselves. Like, we should be
Mm.
Our vision should already be realized. We shouldn't be where we are. We're
Mhm.
literally resisting being in this moment a
Mhm.
lot. I know I even do.
Mhm.
And for my own self growing up and having my own conditioning from my parents were older. And so there was a lot of conditioning around getting married young. And that's what you were really to do is like you get married, you have your man, and you're the mom and you're the family and you're the wife. And then because it's the new age, yes, go to school, you know. But even school wasn't like super, super encouraged like it was for more of the modern age families.
Mhm.
And so for me, I just felt the pressures all around me. I knew I didn't want to go to university, but yet if you don't go to university, you're kind of like a low life, or like, what are you really doing? If you're not going to go to the military or you're not going to go to university, like, what are you do? Or cosmetology school, like, what are you doing then? You know?
Right,
And
right.
so for me, I purposely was like, I'm not taking the SATs. I don't want to go to university. And I'm like, all right, I'll go to community college. Like, I don't have to take the SATs. My grades don't matter. And of course, now looking back at the time, I was absolutely small and feeding into I was creating my reality very unconsciously. But what I was conscious about even back then, and I know so many on this call right now are very conscious of what's important to you. Even if you're not like for sure what you want to do with your life, even if you don't know exactly what it's going to look like, I promise you, I never thought I would be like sitting in circle, healing and doing breath work in the jungle for my career. Like, I literally could have never found that in a
Yeah.
book, a school catalog. I could have, honestly, it took me a while to even dream that up as a possibility for myself.
Yeah.
But even back then, I was very clear that I wanted to contribute to people. I
Mhm.
wanted to help people. I
Mhm.
loved teaching. I loved educating, but I knew a teacher's salary because originally my major was education. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to deal with the politics and I don't want to get paid that to teach. There's other ways to teach, but I still felt those society pressures. I wasn't allowing myself to think outside of what success could be besides basically any job you find in a course catalog of a university.
Comment down below. My success does not fit into a box. My success does not fit into a box. Comment that down below.
And so I found myself full-time work, full-time nursing school, you know, really blood, sweat, and tears, killing myself, so to speak, to get through. And I did it while going through a divorce. The bottom line was I did it. And I, so to speak, crossed to the other side. And I know there's many people on this call that are currently in that or have made it to, so to speak, that other side where it's like checked, 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 checked.
Yep, I definitely was in that space before I left my career. I totally checked off all the boxes, graduated university, and was in, many of you know my story, but if you are just now tuning in for the first time, I was in a job that I thought I would retire from. Like, it was my dream job, you know, but yet here I am. Wait a minute, this isn't it.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, I loved being a nurse. I am a nurse. I loved it. I was so passionate about it. But I remember I had done all of that. And in fact, I landed an ICU job straight out of nursing school, which is really unheard of. And I remember even in my orientation was about 4 months for ICU. So I always was working with someone for those first few months. And I remember even in that period, just starting out, I loved it. It was just so
Mhm.
exciting and adrenaline and boom, boom. And I was like healing people.
Mhm.
And I even then remembered, like, there's no way I could do this for 20 years. It's like,
Mhm.
there's no way. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, I love it right now. But when I thought of my life and like really the reality, I think that's what is missing is the reality of like the day to day to day, you living it, not the idea of being a nurse or being a wellness advocate or whatever the job that we end up choosing.
Mhm.
And so I remember, and even when I chose being a nurse, I knew I didn't want Monday through Friday. I was like, that doesn't work for me. Even back then, freedom, even though I didn't really fully know freedom was like my value, I still made so many choices that contributed to me having as much freedom as possible. And so nursing, okay, 3 days, yes, they're long days, but then you have 4 days off. And so I was all for it. But what I realized as I started going on to through my own journey and my own experience, and I started asking myself this question: what would success really look like if I completely allowed myself to redefine the American dream to really fit the Leslie soul signature dream?
Mm-hmm.
What would it look like?
Mm-hmm.
What would it feel like day to day if there literally was no limits to what my career, the way I showed up, my zone of genius, how it looked, if there was no limits? What would that look like? And most importantly, in the day to day, what would success really feel like to me? And that alone, just in those answers, I got so clear on I want to feel love, freedom, and passion every single day. And do I feel that as a nurse? Sometimes, but not every day, not all the time. And in fact, there was a lot of limitations that I found within that. And so I know Candy has such a similar story in like the check, and just having those big realizations. But one thing before we kind of flop back, and I'll let Candy kind of take over, that I shared with her even before this call, that I wasn't even really thinking, but it just came out. Something I really want to share to you ladies is I wasn't wrong for being a nurse. And in fact, I still don't even believe I wasn't in my purpose in that moment. I absolutely believe that was a stepping stone. Part of the pathway, you guys, we talk about the path. Picture a path in your head for a moment. Maybe you're in the forest. Maybe you're on a beach path, but just picture a path for a moment. And start taking into account what you really see. Maybe there's rocks. Maybe it veers to the right. Maybe it dead ends and then you're like, oh snap, okay, let me go back. And then there's a tree and a rock, maybe even a person. And then maybe the weather gets really cold all of a sudden. And so as we come back, the point is we want the path to be so straight and direct and perfect, but show me a path in life that really is. And so for me, it was like I was being of service. I was healing. I was teaching. I was shining my light. Yes, it was semi-limited in the four walls of a hospital because I had to, mandate certain regulations and policies. But I still, and that's what I shared with Candy, I know for a fact the way I uniquely showed up in some of those hospital rooms, those families, and same for me, I will never forget some of these people. I don't know their names necessarily. Some of them I actually do. But like what we experienced together. And so look in your own life where you are right now. Yes, you have these goals. Yes, you have these dreams. I do too. Candy does too. Like I said, there's always those next level dreams. Look in your own life where you are, whatever it is, serving. For me, it was serving. For me, it was healing. For me, it was teaching. Look where you're already doing that. And the more that we experience that, because that's what we really want to experience, the money and the car and the family, even all of that is like the bonus, the effect, the outcome. Ultimately, if we're not feeling, for me, if I wasn't experiencing love, passion, and freedom every day, I wouldn't be in a place to receive the kind of family I wanted, to receive the money that I wanted.
And I love that you brought up the feeling, Leslie, because ultimately when we think of success, we think of like a specific dream house or a specific dream job, something along those lines, but nobody ever really talks about the dream feeling. And it's so interesting because that feeling is how we measure the success. Like, how will you ever know? We talked about this even at the beginning of our journeys. Like, when will it ever be enough? Like, when will it be enough? Because you're, like you said, you were in nursing, like you were, when you really got clear on what you were wanting to do, you're like, wow, I'm actually doing that. So like, until you actually discover that for yourself, that you're actually doing what you desire to do right now, not tomorrow, not when you get the dream house, then you can measure success that way, and you can become a magnet for miracles. Leslie and I could not have attracted the lives that we attracted if we didn't decide how we wanted to feel and measure success that way. And also decide, okay, from there, that's how I want to feel. Is this in alignment now?
Yes.
Is this working in the four walls of the hospital line now? For me, I remember driving to work being just feeling anxious, feeling like, wow, that I'm so feeling guilty too. Like, I'm so blessed to have this job. I know some of you experience this. I'm so blessed to have this job, yet I'm like anxious on my way to work. Like, I know I should be not driving to a building right now to be inside all day. I love what I do. Yes, I love contributing. I love taking others through transformation and empowering them to be the best versions of themselves, but not like this. And so, but how did I want to feel? You know, how did we want to feel, and then using that as the measure of success. I love that. I love that you brought that up.
Yes. Beautiful.
Amazing.
Let's check in with some of the comments. I can see some of them here.
Yeah, drop a comment below, everybody, for those of you that are watching. How do you want to feel? Like, pick 3. I just got my nails done. Pick 3. Pick 3 ways you want to feel. For Leslie, it's freedom, love, and passion. For me, it was confident, courageous, and a contribution. I wanted to feel like I was a contribution to others. I wanted to feel confident every single day. That was just what I desired at the time. And I wanted to feel courage. I wanted to be courageous. I wanted to choose courage, because I know with courage, that meant I was being brave with my life. So when I remember telling Leslie that for the very first time, like, this is how I want to feel. And then I could see in my life where I was already feeling those feelings, and then where I wasn't. And so, yeah, so powerful. So drop a comment below. Three things you want to feel. Like, could be love, it could be freedom, it could be joy, it could be excitement, adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, any of those things. It could be connection, you know, like, I want to feel connected to my family, my friends. I want to feel supported. I want to feel loved. I want to feel, just drop those 3 things below. I know it's hard to select 3, but just choose 3 for now.
And while they're commenting below, I wanted to add this in, because just to revisit my real life example, I could have easily, and I know this comes up for you, I could have easily waited till I was in the dream situation to try to cultivate love, freedom, and passion. Because in my current job, especially towards the end, it got really challenging for me emotionally, mentally. I was working at the Arizona Burn Intensive Care Unit, and I was in a contract. And so I knew I finally had my date of, I'm going for it. I'm leaving my corporate job. I'm going across the world, and I'm going to go lead international adventure retreats. So I already had the date in place, but it was a few months out, quite a few months out. And I was in a contract. And so I could have easily been like, F this. I'm going to just do the bare minimum, go to work, get through it. And I'm just banking on Bali. I'm just waiting for Bali. Then I'll have love. Then I'll have freedom. Then I'll have passion. Duh. Right. But I specifically remember, because I felt so torn, and I can just imagine some of you are in this space of work, and I feel like for me, I felt like there was Nurse Leslie, and then there was Leslie. And of course, to an extent, that had to happen. Of course, there's a certain mental game in ICU that has to be turned on. But I also saw where I wasn't allowing myself to really be me at work, because I'm like, nope, work, this is my free life over here.
Mm.
And so I remember kind of, it was like just this little challenge. It was just kind of like in my head, like nothing like crazy. I didn't tell anyone, but it was just like, what if you just like took, because I started experiencing on my off times in my personal life, I started experiencing, I was doing more things that brought me love. I was doing more things that brought me freedom and passion. I was like going to national parks and traveling and hiking and like doing all these things in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And it started, the gap seemed to get way too large. Let me know if you've ever experienced that, where you're like, the gap is just getting way too big and I almost can't take it. But I remember this specific moment where I was like, you know what? Like, why am I keeping this separate?
Mm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
I can experience love, freedom, and passion even in a burn intensive care unit. And in fact,
Mm-hmm.
let me just see what happens when I do that. And so I did. I just, of course, like I said, there was like a mental game I had to put on. But I just started like opening up more conversations, where before I would like stay at my desk, take care of my patients, do my thing and leave. Like that was me. And I started just being like going into the break room and just like sharing my light, being me.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not believe not only how different the environment, how different work became for me, but how many, and in fact, some of you may know Caitlin Rain. I totally forgot about this right until right now. I was working with her, and she not only became later, way later, came to Bali on one of my retreats, but she also became my coaching client and is now working with Candy, in fact,
Yeah.
launching her own business.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
if I had just checked in, checked out, I don't want to be here, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It wasn't until, and Caitlin and I had been working together for a little while, and like we were cool, but it wasn't until I started just being more me
Mm-hmm.
that it really transformed my experience, and so many other people were contributed to, and it really changed their experience too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to like, bring this full circle. We can't unlock those images of what that actually like looks like and feels like. Like, I want you guys to consider it. Like, what are you doing when you feel, with Leslie and I talk about this all the time. When you feel those things, like, what am I doing in my current life? Not like, and even in my current career, what am I doing when I feel the most confident? Like, when do I feel the most confident? And this is for Leslie and I both, I think. But I can definitely speak for myself and say that I was sharing with Leslie this the other day, actually. Like, one of the best things that I did before I left my job was I finally got to like fully be self-expressed. And this was before I left. It wasn't until, yeah, she's like, oh, I remember now. But it wasn't until I was able to look at those things and see like, oh, okay, I can actually feel these feelings right where I'm at, with like, it's that we carry this like destination like mindset, right? And this is kind of how we'll close it out, with this destination mindset. This, once I do this, then I'll feel the freedom, then I'll feel the passion, then I'll feel the joy. Once, and it's like that, like it's we got to acknowledge those qualities within ourselves right now. Where can I start that right now? Like, Jake Doozy was talking about, like, Mother Teresa wasn't like, hold on, I got to get my 501c3 and then I got to do this and then I can help people, right? Like, she started with people right in front of her. Gandhi wasn't like, hang on, I got to do that. Wait, no, he started with himself. He started with the people in front of him. And so all the people, Martin Luther King Jr., all these people, that we look up to and admire, that are just like these huge public figures that like have like made massive impacts on the world. They weren't in a space of once I do this, then I can. You have to get outside of yourself and say, okay, where can I do this and live this right now? And I think that's where we can go. I like lost what I was sharing earlier.
No, yeah, and another way to even word that too, just to provide this in, is like, we have to stop looking at our lives and the situations that we're in as the cause, and then how we feel because of that cause, whatever it's our job, it's our boyfriend, it's our situation.
Right.
The effect is how we feel. You have to understand you are the cause.
Yep.
and the effect is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, because I lived it, you guys, I was in Bali. I had manifested, and we're going to talk about scripting to manifest in a couple weeks. So make sure you're tuning in the rest of this month.
Mm-hmm.
But I literally had manifested. I mean, it was word for word, living in Bali, leading international adventure retreats, fully funded. This is my summer home. I'm free. I'm this, I'm that. I was literally living it. And it was kind of mind blowing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, this crap works.
Like, oh, snap.
And even in that moment, I was living it, my day to day. And I was like, still wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like still being so hard on myself because I don't have this amount of coaching clients, or I don't have this amount of blah, blah, blah. Like Candy said, to really bring this all full circle, it's never going to be enough. Mm-hmm. And that is when I'm like, girlfriend, you literally manifested word for, like the universe gave you exactly what you wanted and you're still not happy. So the point is, I had to learn how to embody, receive, experience love, freedom, and passion first, not because of anything else. Mm-hmm. And then naturally my life became, and it already was creating, like I was living in Bali, but that's when things really started to shift for me.
Yep. Comment below. I am the cause and my life is the effect. I had to remember. Comment below. I am the cause and my life is the effect. Comment below. And then, I wanted to look at these comments down below. We'll start here, you guys. We'll do a part 2 on this next week. I think that's where it's coming. Hang on, not yet. Hang on. Hold on. Not yet. Well, we got a surprise for you guys. Hang on. Not yet, though. We got a surprise in a minute. I do want to transition to asked and answered before we close out officially. So, and I want to look at these comments. But for those of you that have questions around this specific topic, getting specific, how you want to feel, how you can apply this in your life right now, comment your questions down below. And even if it's off topic and you want to ask a question for me or Leslie to coach you through, comment that down below. And then I'll read these comments. Yes. Hit us with that transition music for the asked and answered.
Asked and answered. Asked and answered.
Woo, woo.
Asked and answered.
Woo.
Andy, take it over. Asked and answered.
All right, you guys, I've got the video up here. I'm looking at your comments. So let's see.
And any reflections, you guys, if anything that we shared, because sometimes you sharing an aha moment can even light that up for someone else. So even if there was something you were like, wow, I never looked at it in this way, I can totally see where I've been blocking myself or whatever. We'd love to hear.
Totally. So I loved all of you that wrote, my success does not fit into a box. Yes. And then Jessie says, I finally realized, I think just at this moment, in this Tea Talks video, that I am, she capitalized, I am doing what I want. I'm having that feeling working with my client and her family. Seeing and feeling that difference I make in their lives is the ultimate gift of life for me. It brings me so much joy. I want to feel joy, influential, and free. There's so many more though. Yes. Love it, Jessie. Steph says supported, connected, and present. Betty, free, love, and bliss. Monique, I want to feel joy. I want to feel spontaneous. I want to feel passion. Yes. Gabby, I want to feel adventurous, abundant, and to feel inspired. Amazing. Monique says the ripple effect of your light is remarkable. That resonates with me so much. I think you said that, right? I am the cause and my life is the effect. Okay, awesome. Drop your comments down below. What questions do you have for Leslie and I to answer on this specific topic? And we will transition. But we have a really special announcement below. So while we're announcing this, whatever questions you have, get them in the comments below so that you can get them answered live on this show. So don't miss your opportunity to participate in this portion. What are you experiencing right now around your goals in the new year? What do you need help with? How can we support you? And we have a special.
This is your free resource, right? Yeah. Like this is the time to practice asking the questions I know you got. I know you got them.
Yeah.
And also a reminder for those of you that tune in week after week, even throughout the week, if a question pops into your head, something happens in your life, write it down in a note or in your journal and bring it to Tea Talks. So you don't have to like think of something on the spot, like bring a question, because we're happy. This is your resource to do that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So are we ready for our surprise?
We're ready for our surprise. Drop your guys' questions below and Leslie and I will get them answered. We'll give you some coaching if you desire that coaching. So drop that down below and we have a surprise for you. So I'm actually going to put a comment box in the box below because we have a special surprise. So let's do a drum roll. Everybody watching from home. We have, go for it.
In December, we had Gotchi Tea as our sponsor, and it was our first sponsor, and it was so fun. We did a giveaway, we had a discount code, and believe it or not, we're sponsored every month for the next couple months. That was me trying to yell, but nothing came out. So it was just like,
I need these emojis down below. Drop them below.
And so this month, and I have to say, I'm obsessed with this company for so many reasons, but primarily even just because of the designs. Their branding has Leslie Alexandra Medley written all over it. It's like the 70s hippie, like wild flower child vibe. And I absolutely love that. So this month we will not be doing a giveaway, but we will be sipping on Bon Temps tea. And I had the privilege, I was so grateful. I actually came across their profile on Instagram, Conscious Tea Brand. And I reached out just with the possibility of this sponsorship. In fact, they were the first tea company I reached out to and they were all about it. And immediately that, by them being so open and willing to support, it opened up my possibility of like, we can do this more. Like, this is incredible. Let's all come together. And so I'm so happy. We'll be sharing more specifically about Bon Temps over the next couple episodes. But in January, this month, we are sponsored by Bon Temps. And what that means is we get to sip on it and you also get to sip on it with a 20% off code specifically for Tea Talks, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But I have this box that they sent me that I thought about opening up with you guys if you're down for that.
They sent me one too. I already opened mine.
So this is from Bon Temps. Oh, I absolutely love this. And in fact, here's a card that specifically tells why they're so special and why they're different. And so what I'll do is I'm actually going to keep this card and I'll just read from it every week because there's so much good information on here. For example, something I didn't know for the longest time, because I'm like, oh, tea's healthy, duh. But what we don't realize is most tea is in a bag. And those bags, especially if it's a cheaper tea, not a conscious brand, those tea bags actually can have a lot of chemicals and dyes in them. So even though we think we're contributing to our health, that we're also still ingesting chemicals and things that we really don't want to be ingesting, which is why we're drinking tea to begin with. Yeah. So just that brought so much mindfulness to me and awareness. And then also how the teas are sourced. Even if the bags are clean, are they ethnically sourced? Are these communities across the world that I actually live in a lot of the times, are they being given back to? Or are they just being pulled from? And so this company, Bon Temps, is really about ethnically supporting, ethically supporting, and chemically free. And so each week I'll actually read a couple things because there's so many little things like that set little things, huge things really that set them apart.
Can you read the wellness line real quick? That's my favorite.
Is it on the, okay. We're over superficial wellness culture. This is Bon Temps. Look them up, follow them. It's Shop Bon Temps, at Shop Bon Temps. Wellness should stop being about how you look and start being how you feel. How perfect for today, because we're going to be focusing on how we feel. And I'm so grateful for Bon Temps for really reminding us that, and how perfect that it goes right along with this episode. So in your life, here we are in Tea Talk, sipping on Bon Temps, but here in your life, how check in when you're at work. how do I feel? Am I turning off my feelings because I'm at work and not allowing myself to feel the contribution, the confidence? Because Candy, you were very much in a position where you could embody all of those.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But it's like we think, oh, wait, I can't because I'm at work and I want this dream life.
Yep.
So thank you for Bond Temps for reminding us that you start by how you feel. And so, oh, there's more in here. Oh, yeah, guys, so this is what I mean. Look at this packaging for a second. I just have to, it is me in a tea bag. Like, how stinking cute are these? So follow Shop Bond Temps at Shop Bond Temps, and Candy, go ahead and comment Tuesday Tea Talks for 20% off.
I messed up. Hold on, you guys. Don't use the code above. I'll delete it. Hold on.
Tuesday Tea Talks. This code's a little different, so they're keeping us on our toes. Every code is going to be a teeny bit different. This one's Tuesday Tea Talks for 20% off Bond Temps. So we'll be sipping on it. We'd love for you to get some so we can sip on together. Another thing I will show you is these bags are very unique. You know, they're like the very high quality bags. So I'm loving this tea so far. And for those of you that were on retreat, we drank Bond Temps quite a bit this weekend on retreat.
Yeah, we did. I opened that box and we used it. Hang on, I'm coming back. I'm going to pin this comment down below. Actually, I'm going to pin the asked and answered question that we got from Jessie. Hang on 1 minute. All right, I'm pinning her comment below. Being answered now. All right. So Jessie, I love this because it's going to be one of my favorite answers. I want to become a holistic health coach, and I found a program for it. Okay, got it. But I want to know what I can do on my own with free support and resources to take steps towards that goal. What suggestions do you have? And so I want to say, number one, I know you're working with Leslie right now. And so amazing. You'll learn a lot there. When you're done, come see me for the business stuff. And I'm happy to take you through that process. But as far as free resources, holistic health. So I just watched this documentary on Netflix called Heal, and I think you have Netflix. Somebody has Netflix in your tribe. So it's called Heal, and you learn a lot about holistic health there, amongst just do your research on what it means to be holistically healthy. What modalities would you love to be yours? What would you love to share? And then what is your message behind that? I know that you are just like, you embody some of that already. And so you're just going to continue to just discover more and more about yourself. Do your research on holistic health. What modalities are there? How can you serve with holistic health? And I know coaching with Leslie is going to be a huge door opener for you to understand what those modalities are for you and which ones you desire to share with the world. And so my biggest thing is you're already doing it, number one, and then just do your research on more and more learning about that. Do you have anything else you want to share, Leslie?
I just wanted to add, and this goes for anyone watching, whatever I want to be, insert your statement, this coach, whatever, insert your statement. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes even, so holistic wellness is actually very broad, right? Like that could fall under so many things, which is awesome because that means you have that many things to explore, right? versus if it was like DNA, genetics, blah, blah, blah. There's probably not as much, right? But because it's holistic wellness, so I would even encourage you, and this is in fact something Candy and I did a couple years ago, so even search Facebook, go to the events, and even if it's a community yoga class or a doTERRA oils or a cacao ceremony or a whatever, until you experience it for yourself, how are you going to know what you really want to teach or incorporate into your program or into your services? And so that's something, of course, Jessie, you and I are going to be working on a lot, is starting with you, which you are already, like Candy said so beautifully, you've already made so many shifts and so many changes. But for anyone watching, even there's tons of free events, by the way, and then there's some that are maybe $5, $10, $15, $20.
Mhm.
And just in you attending an event, not only do you have to show up in person, overcoming a lot there, you know
Mhm.
what that might be. You get to meet people. Oh, interesting. You've been wanting to meet a supportive tribe. And then you also get to be exposed to something new, different, and from another teacher, healer, or coach that's sharing her medicine.
Mhm.
Imagine how much clarity would come just in going to one event.
Mhm.
So, once again, it's showing up and taking those actions. And we often think taking those actions have to be actually doing the business.
Mhm.
That comes, it
Mhm.
does come.
Later, yeah.
But first, absolutely using the events that are already happening that you can learn from yourself.
Mhm.
Take what you want, leave
Mhm.
the rest, and say, you know what? Like for me, something I picked up along the way that I never would have expected
Mhm.
is cacao. And if I had not been open to it or I hadn't exposed myself to that, I would have never known that. And in
Mhm.
fact, that's something I use primarily now
Mhm.
as my medicine for teaching and healing. So
Mhm.
you never know.
Yeah, totally. Last thing I want to say, Jesse, because my sense for you is that your medicine is going to be something along the lines of like mental health for people, mental health resources, mental health healing modalities. Start there, like start getting really specific, like what kind of holistic health, like Leslie said. And my sense for you is that you're going to be a huge like example of what this is embodied, like the mental health and getting that specifically. And the last thing I want to share around this is that your story is what makes you unique. So don't hesitate on sharing your story, because for me, I know it was definitely yes. Like I was all around an advocate for holistic health, but when I started to share with people that I've lost 80 pounds, and what I discovered in that is that really had nothing to do with what I did and everything to do with the inner warrior that I connected within myself and embodied that, then that's why I'm so committed to activating that in other women. I started attracting all of the perfect clients and being able to share my medicine in that way. So I know you will definitely get clear on that, especially with working with Leslie. You'll discover what it is your message is and your medicine is. So I love that. Thank you for that question.
And what's beautiful, using Jessie as an example, but even for some of you ladies, to really bring it into even the conversation we had during Tea Talks today, is Jessie, you get the privilege of, you're already doing it. Like, yes, you're working for someone, but you have a client.
Yeah.
And it's like you literally are getting to do and learn so much already. And I love that you even mentioned that in a comment, that you're like, wow, I'm already getting to do this. So
Mhm.
the more that you can even bring focus to that, speak it out, and really like over the top, be so grateful like for how you feel now getting to work with this one client, you're naturally going to just see so many opportunities to do so.
Yes, amazing, beautiful. All right, this last one, and Jesse says, "Ooh, I love that. Thank you. I can't wait to continue taking these actions. Candy, you nailed it. I work in the mental health department, and I want to have an emphasis on individuals, mostly adolescents, on the autism spectrum or other mental disabilities disordered." Beautiful, beautiful. You have that clarity. Then you get to play with what is your medicine around helping those individuals. I love that you already know who you want to speak to. And since you already do know that, I would just highly suggest getting like, I know Leslie said you're involved there, but doing some volunteer work, even with people on the autism spectrum, asking questions, doing research, just knowing how you can contribute is one of the biggest things. I do want to get this other comment answered. So Jesse, thank you for your question. And I definitely hear you that you got your answer in that question. Last one we'll get to today, because we do got to wrap up here in a minute, and then we'll just share just some ways you can continue the accountability with me and Leslie, and then we'll close out for the day. Gabby says, "I'm currently struggling with going to work on a day-to-day basis. I feel like I'm putting so much energy into place. I don't see myself at long term. Oh, into a place I don't see myself at long term. I currently am a freelancer, videographer, and photographer, and I feel so much more passion, inspiration, and freedom into doing that. And I eventually would like to quit my job and transition to that job full time. What suggestions do you have to help with this feeling. I resonate with Leslie when she said she felt like two people, Nurse Leslie and then Leslie, and that's currently how I'm feeling.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I totally hear you, sister. And for me, it came down to a acceptance. Like I said, I was in a contract. So like, unless I wanted to owe a lot of money or like deal with some repercussions, I was kind of stuck, right? Like ultimately I probably could have left, but like I was in a contract. It wasn't even a job I could quit technically.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, going back to the conversation, I would just ask you, are you fully embodying what you desire in your current life in all areas first?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is even a teeny bit no, do that first.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
If it is not fully embodied in all areas, and of course, girlfriend, I get there's like certain limitations. I mean, I worked in a hospital intensive care. There's a lot of policies and like there's a lot of regulations in intensive care. Mm-hmm. Policies, people, so many systems, but I still found a way to embody that in that area. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I still sometimes came home bawling my eyes out, honestly, from what I witnessed, from what I saw, from what I personally experienced, just like being so tired. Mm-hmm. But my experience in the day-to-day at work was still different compared to what it was when I wasn't allowing that. So that would just be my question. And if you're still on, answer. But I would just ask, have you been limiting yourself or really, and I guess the answer is yes, since you say you really feel that hat of like, there's this person and there's a work person, but how can you bring more of who you are even into that environment? Who knows what it would open up for you? I'll share another story. One of my dear friends, some of you, in fact, our dear friend, Paula, I had a conversation with her. In fact, it was a coaching call. This was a long time ago now. And she was same thing, still in her physical job, wanting to leave, so desperately to leave. In fact, she was working with Candy at the time. And we were talking, and at the time she was in that same space of like, I just don't even want to be there. Like it's starting to get to the point where it's like killing me. Mm-hmm. And we had the same conversation, like, what's the possibility of who you could touch there? Because she was actually working at a addiction rehab facility. Mm-hmm. Who can you contribute to there? Mm-hmm. And so skip, her whole perception changed, right? She started showing up differently. Skip. She now, when she left that job, she was an office manager, so not doing what she'd really want to do. Mm-hmm. She now has a contract, a paid contract with this facility teaching her medicine for these children. Mm-hmm. And she was about to be like, F this place. I'm done with this place. Mm-hmm. And it was only in her shifting how she was showing up while she had the job. Mm-hmm. Then it was like this opened up. And then she started seeing for herself, like, wow, I could actually have an impact here. I just not as the office manager. And I don't want to be an employee. So she was able to create this contract that in her transition of now being a full-time mentor, healer, and coach, really really helped in funding that transition. So I wanted to share that. And I think that would be a beautiful, just real life story to sit with, Gabby.
Yeah, definitely. The last thing I would say to that, Gabby, is, you mentioned wanting to leave that job and just like what suggestions do we have with the feeling? Well, just what Leslie and I speak to a lot is like, what's your plan? Because around the feeling stuck, like that's what I really feel like. I hear you feel stuck. Yep. Well, you're gonna keep feeling stuck unless you have some other, like a plan of action. So what I hear is you really do want to take your videography and photography more seriously, other than just dabbling here and there. And so what would it actually take for you to replace your income? What would that actually mean for your business, your videography and photography business? What would that mean? You'd have, who would you have to become? Who would you have to show up as? And, set a date. Girlfriend, like set a date. And that's what we speak to a lot in terms of like You know, because you're going to feel stuck until you actually have some sort of a plan to really embody these feelings. You said inspired, you said passionate, you said
Adventurous.
freedom.
I think, didn't she say adventurous too?
Up in the comments, yeah, she said adventurous, but in this particular comment she said freedom, inspiration, and passion. So until you start feeling those feelings now, until you start embodying those feelings now, you're gonna keep feeling stuck. And then until you have a plan of how can you experience more of that passion, more of that inspiration, more of that, like how often are you actually engaging in your photography and videography? Like how often are you? Yeah, are you engaging, or are you putting it off because you have to go to work? Because one thing that Leslie and I both did, that we do want you to know, and I know we're like we could talk about this all day. One thing that Leslie and I both did is what we went to our jobs, and then once we were complete with our jobs, we came to each other and we masterminded and created a plan about how we were actually going to take what we truly desire and create it into our lives. And we both set dates to leave our jobs, and we did not go back on those commitments.
April 1st, 2018, no joke. That was mine.
Here we are, no joke.
I purposely picked April Fool's Day to be my date because I'm like, this is no joke, y'all.
No joke. Like, and that's like, yeah, her and I, and honestly, I was like, I picture myself like with and this is like, you know, just going into the next thing for you, Gabby, but I pictured myself with like the Flintstones vehicle. I don't know if this is like before your time, but like the old school Flintstones where they were like pedaling with their feet and then they're trying to hit the brakes and their feet are dragging like the dirt. That's how I felt. Like I was like dragging the dirt, like not wanting to leave, but I had already made a commitment, set a date, and I had already started taking the action, but I had to get specific on what that actually meant for me. Like I had to say, okay, what would it take to replace my income at this job? How many clients would that mean I'm working with? You know, how many days a week do I want to work? All those things that I had to look at. And then I didn't feel stuck anymore. I felt like I reminded myself I was choosing that job because it was funding my dream for now. And it will fund your dream until you decide on that date and decide to leave. So just
even if it's half and half, I think sometimes we're waiting till it can be full time. And I know you said you're freelancing, but even to move from freelance to like, this is my business. Even, and I know we think we have to say freelance until it's full time, but even how can you even half and half? Is it possible the job you're in where you could cut back as it builds, so it's more of this versus all or nothing? That's also possible, but once again it comes back to having the clarity and then the plan so that you don't feel so stuck, that you actually have a plan to get you unstuck.
Boom. Awesome. All right, transition music one more time. Bloop 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 bloop.
It's your turn.
Do 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 do. All right, so last thing we want to share, I know we're going way over time and that's okay. Thank you for hanging with us. For those of you that are still on, Gabby, thank you for your question. So Leslie and I have these opportunities for you to get the actual accountability that you need to create these dreams. So Leslie, do you want to share about the meditation mentorship?
Yes, I do. And I love that we're offering this because even as I was saying, you need the clarity, you need the, and then Gabby's probably like, yeah, I know I do, but how? And so obviously pulling all the wisdom from these videos, and it's just literally lights up our life when we hear even Monique, her feedback, anyone feedback of like really how much this free resource has actually had a living, breathing impact in all y'all's lives. And then there's still like room for more. And I know we've both had people reach out to us of like, I'm implementing and I have so much momentum, and there's still a couple of things I feel stuck in. And so I personally have taken everyone that my partner and I actually have worked with over the last year and put it into a 21-day mentorship where you have access to me as your mentor for 21 days, really a month. We're extending, but the actual program's 21 days. And we will be building this daily time for you to have the clarity, for you to know the clarity is already inside of you. Everything, you hear that, everything you need is inside of you. And you're like, where? But yet we don't have that consistent, quiet, daily time to hear.
Mm-hmm.
What is there? Because we don't know how. We've tried meditating. It doesn't work. I don't work. I can't be still. I mean, you guys, I literally used to think there was something wrong with me because when I was so wired and jacked up and anxious that if I tried to meditate, I would sleep. How many of you have that in the beginning, or like that's what you're experiencing now? For me, I would literally, my nervous system didn't know peace. It knew asleep and it knew on. And so there's a process of rewiring your nervous system to bring in and experience joy, love, contribution, confidence. There's a certain level of reprogramming. It's nothing wrong with you. Everyone experiences it to some degree. And so in this mentorship, we will be daily Facebook Live, actually in a private setting, practicing together. Every morning we will have weekly calls in a group setting where we're not going to just be covering practices, but like these consistencies, like I want this, but this keeps happening. Why? And we're going to dive into energy blocks, chakras, anything that has to do with the inside of what you want in the outside world.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. That's going to be an incredible program. And you guys, like every successful person that you know of has a daily practice. So you definitely, if you don't have one right now, or the one you have is not working for you, you definitely want to be in on this program and have that accountability and support. It's going to be incredible.
We're excited. Jessie will be on, so join your girl.
Join your girl, Jessie. Join her. And then, yeah, for those of you that are growing a business who want to really up level that business, whether it's just a brand new business or you're in the first 1 to 2 years of your business, you're really wanting to up level in 2020. This year, I'm doing something completely different with my coaching program. It's a 9-month container now, including a Maui retreat. Woo, woo. Yes. And so for those of you who do want private coaching from me to grow your business, you want my eyes on your business, you want that support, that accountability to actually make the income that you truly deserve in 2020, message me for those details. And that is all we have for you, Tea Talk Tribe. Oh, one more thing. Hold on. And then I'll get the closing music on. Go ahead.
I think that was it, actually. Go ahead. Get the
All right, Tea Talks fam. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week on the Tuesday Tea Talks mid-morning show. I'm Candy.
And I'm Leslie. And we're out.
And we are out. Peace. Oh, wait. Cheers.
Cheers, Tea Talk Tribe.
Woo!